Hello, YouTube. This is Brother Gerald, YouTube philosopher. And today is August the 21st, 2016. And I got some negative feedback on my video titled Black Women Can't Swim Figuratively. And I just wanted to further elaborate on this analogy that I thought was pretty good. I was in the middle of kind of arguing with some women, and there was a couple of brothers there kind of backing me up, and it just popped into my head. We got a little. Like I said, I get to a point where if I'm discussing with people, my speech patterns is a lot swifter, and a lot of times my ideas just kind of pop in and out, and it gets to a point where the people who I'm dealing with might find some of what I'm saying to be kind of humorous. But the long and the short of it is because I've been exercising my brain to think about these things on a deeper level. And I'm just kind of going to say that the difference between men and women is that men tend to think more deeply about things, whereas women seem to be more emotional. You guys react emotionally on a very superficial level. Now, my thing is, before you get upset and basically say, "Oh, this is poppycock," what he's talking about. Most women have probably switched off the lecture right now, and it's gonna be just a few of us men left over to listen and hear what I'm saying. I guarantee, this is gonna be the case, which proves my point that women can only think on a very superficial and emotional level. We, as men, try to impose our own personality upon those others. Like, my mother was such a sweet woman. Yes, she's a sweet woman. Women have the ability to be sweet, but women a lot of times cannot think beyond certain superficial terms. Like, for example, they look at what they do at home as being so different than what they do here out in the workforce. But the ironic thing about what they do out here in the workforce is really superficial to ultimately what they truly want to have in life. Let me give you an example. Women today will argue and say that, they want to have a career, they want to do this, they want to do that, and everything that they talk about is comparable to what men do and men have done traditionally. Now, with all of that being said, is what you're going to do going to be more beneficial to you as a member of a family or less? For example, my wife, she wanted to be a nurse. When I first met this woman and I go to her home, I met her at a wedding and she was a very beautiful woman. And as it turns out, I didn't have an opportunity to really say anything to her. But as it turns out, she had come to the wedding accompanied by a friend that I knew. And I knew that I could get in touch with the friend later to get in touch with her. So I get in touch with her and then I rendezvous with her at her home. And she lived with her father, and there was a park right across the street from her father's house. And me being the kind of nerdy, geeky, stupid little young man that I was, we walked across the street to the park to just talk and walk and hang out. So we go to the sand pit where the swings are, and I decide to start swinging in the swing. Now I'm swinging in the swing. I'm not looking to push her in the swing. I'm swinging in the swing, and I'm showing off my manliness that I can swing real high and I can jump real high out the swing. But eventually it got to a point where, in my nerdy stupidity, I decided to be sort of semi romantic. And so I said, "Why don't you sit in the swing and we can talk while I swing you?" And so we talking. And I expressed to her my intentions of, this is what I see myself doing, in the next 10 years. This is the plan that I have. And then I asked her, well, what are your hopes and dreams? Well, She said, it was my hope and dream to be a nurse and, to get married and to have kids. And, I really want to do these things. And this is my great desire. And so, long story short, once you evaluate her desire, it was all about her. It was all about what she wanted to do. And it was really clearly expressed in really not thinking deeply about these things. Because, to have a career as a nurse is wonderful. But to be in a family context where you are operating in a system that is going to hopefully be built to no longer motivate you or put you in a position of having to serve, but to be served. This is what we learn in America. In America, the dream is to own one's own business. Why is it to own one's own business? Because to own a business means that you're going to employ others, that you're going to use these people to replicate yourself in accomplishing a particular trade or profession or something. So, for the woman that basically says that she wants to get into, quote, a career, she's put herself in a position where she's going to be used outside the home for the benefit of others. And there's nothing wrong with that unless God has seen fit to put you in a position to do far greater than just go to work for somebody and come home. And I think this is a thing that women are not appreciating. And black women in particular, we are being conditioned and trained to be workers. Most of the black children that I talk to, they look forward to going to work for some corporation because that's where the big money is. But the big money is only there is because you have no creativity to go beyond thinking more deeply to say, well, how did these corporations gain such a strong foothold in having all of these resources? They basically, somebody in the game decided, hey, I'm going to build this thing called my corporation, and I'm going to build it in such a way that ultimately it's going to garner favor to where most people will desire to want to work for it as opposed to trying to start their own business in competition to it. So the contrast that I'm making between, my wife's thinking is the contrast that I'm making with that in relationship to my own. I always wanted to own my own business, but when I met her, I was working as a public servant. I was a firefighter paramedic, and I made very good money. But during the time when we were dating, I told her it's my dream to start buying and fixing up properties, and ultimately I will buy and fix them up, and hopefully I can have so many properties and so much income coming in by virtue of owning these properties such that I will make more money per month with these properties coming in with income than I do working on the job. So I'm trying to build a business, and I'm trying to build it in such a way that my wife, if I get around to having one, because the goal was in 10 years, I plan to have this plan in full effect, and I'll have enough resources coming in with these properties as well as my money making power at this job to where I can go ahead and not work so hard, and the income that I'm making, if this real estate venture generates the kind of money that I anticipate, then I'll have two incomes coming in by one person, which means my wife won't have to work a job to give us the resources that supposedly the family needs. Because this was kind of an argument that was presented. Well, I want to work because we need the extra money to do this, that, but we never needed the extra money to do anything because I was always working, making good money. And so So the loss that's being suffered is that the woman, in failing to see how her remaining at home would be more beneficial to the group, has ultimately cost the black family, the black community, and black society so many things that we don't even understand the real loss. Because my wife, she gets excited when she comes home with these big checks. But I'm like saying, well, it sure would have been nicer had you not gone to get this job and invested your time in developing your children and supporting your husband in these other things, such as helping build the business in real estate, helping build my business right now. Now, the beautiful thing about my business now is that I'm probably making more money than I ever could imagine making working as a firefighter, paramedic, and with my wife working as a nurse combined. I make way more money than a nurse and a firefighter paramedic could ever do, working all the overtime that they would have to make. Because I think a paramedic now probably makes maybe $600 a shift in overtime. If he puts his 10 shifts in per month and he gets called to work overtime, that shift that he would work 24 hours is worth about maybe $600, $700 a day. So I make far greater more money than that per day or in a month. And now I'm hiring employees and they're duplicating my efforts, in that if I pay a guy $25 an hour to work on a job, I'm charging the client $56 an hour for that guy to be on the job. So it's at a point, if I get 5 or 6 people working for me, and I have about 3 or 4 guys working for me right now, to make that kind of money without having to actually physically do the work. The genius of a business is that you're amplifying your ability to make money by bringing others in to increase the effort that you're in particular are making. So these people are acting like you, but they're not you. And the reason why they're not you is because you're making 20 something dollars an hour off of them working, and getting paid $25 an hour. So it's at a point where they are like me, but they're not the same. And so here's another analogy just coming up from me making this video. We're going to try and run a business, but back to the black women can't swim. You guys just need to appreciate water. And I think I'm going to make another video with this business analogy that just popped into the game. So with all of that, I just hope in this moment of my musing and being a little introspective and meditative about this, that hopefully this will bring some clarity to women to think clearly and get that blessing. I know as a man, I'm thinking a lot more deeply about things. And when I do try to bring these things to my wife's attention or even my mother-in-law's attention, their attention span is very short-lived. And they become very defensive in that, somewhere they see that I'm attacking them. And I might be truly attacking them, and maybe that's what they're picking up. But it's an attack that's one that hopefully should get them to surrender and acknowledge what is manifestly obvious, that you guys are not the same as men. You'd like to be, but when you try to do it, you find yourself coming up short. And it's manifestly obvious by virtue of just seeing just how dissatisfied you women are now that you're older, now that you are without husbands, now that you're without the support of a husband in your latter years. And my Bible tells me that your latter years will be better than your former years if you yield yourself to the discipline and obedience of this God of the Bible. So with that, I depart. Peace to you and all who hear this message.